Hi there. In this video, we're going to talk about skin tones. And when we're talking about skin tones, we really need to look at three areas: exposure, white balance, and just kind of smoothing out possible splotchiness or um, blemishes, maybe some, a red nose or red cheek or what have you, rosacea, things like that. So tackling some of the spots to help give an even tone. So I said the first one is exposure. This image, straight of the camera, I can tell has some lens distortion because of this heavy vignetting. And I'm going to go down and just see what happens when I enable the profile correction under the lens correction panel. And it brightens it up, takes away the vignette. And you may think, well, I love the vignette. Well, that's, you can leave it if you want and work from there, and that's fine. And sometimes I do leave lens distortions on, by not enabling the correction, but sometimes I take it off. So for this purpose, I'm going to take it off, or, enable the correction. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to tackle is white balance. So white balance is the temperature and tint of your image, overall image. And with skin tones, one way to kind of evaluate that in Lightroom is to hover with your mouse over somebody's skin and then look at the numbers underneath the histogram. So right now it's showing us the EXIF data. So the ISO, the focal length, the aperture, and the shutter speed. But when I mouse into the image, so right now my mouse is over the grass, it shows us the red, green, and blue percentages. So I'm going to mouse over her cheek right here. So we see the red is 70.2, the green is 65.2, and the blue is 68.7. Now, regardless of the skin tone type that you're working with, the blues should never be higher than the greens. Whether it's African American, Hispanic, Caucasian, Asian, Native American, and I know there's more skin types out there, but that was just to name a few. The blues should always be lower than the greens, okay? And a way to fix this, there's actually three ways. We can use a white balance preset, we can use the eyedropper, and then we can tweak the temp and tint sliders ourselves. So I'll show three different ways. So first, I'm going to come over here to Add Shot, and I'm going to go down to my go-to preset, and that's Flash. Even though Flash wasn't used for this, it is very interesting how beneficial Flash preset could be. All right, so now if we mouse over her cheek, the blues are lower than the greens. We have 73.7 greens and 71.4 blue. And if we look at it before and after, hit Y. See how this is just more pleasing? They look healthier and alive, and it's just they just look healthier, right? Here they've got this bluish tint, and this is definitely a better white balance. All right, so I'm gonna go back to Add Shot. So that's one way. You can just go through each of the presets. Sometimes Flash doesn't work. Sometimes I have to use a different one. The other way is to use this eyedropper. Now, the only area that I found that we possibly could use is his shoe right here. A lot of times I use the whites of the eyes or teeth or something like a button or some jewelry, some non-reflective jewelry, things like that. So I'm going to click on the eyedropper. I'm come down here and let's just click right there. All right. So it changed it. I think it's a little too warm. You can keep clicking. All right. Now, I didn't like any of those, right? But if you get close, if you say, okay, that's better, but it's too warm, or it's still too cool, or it's too green, or it's too magenta, then we can come in here and tweak. So I think it's a little warm. So if we look, all right, so we got green is 71, and our blues are way down at 59.9, so basically 60. I want to bring up the blues just a little bit. So I'm going to come here, and I'm just going to bump this to the left towards the blues just a little bit. I may want to do, we could also maybe pull down the green by moving towards the magenta. I don't know that I wanted to do that, but I'm just going to try that. And let's see. I think that's pretty good. We can look at a before and after. You might say, oh, it's still too warm. I think that looks good. Big difference, right? So those are 3 ways that you could change the white balance. And that is a big part of skin tones, y'all. It's a big, big, big part of skin tones is getting that white balance corrected. Now, so we got exposure, we've got to brighten up the image, and then white balance, that's number 2. Now number 3 is trying to even out some like splotchiness that they may have, or some redness. So if I zoom into him a little bit here. Not that, I mean, listen, babies are babies, so I don't want to work on their faces too much. But he has a little redness right here, maybe in the cheek. A better example, I'll show a better example in just a minute, but I'm going to use the brush from the Portrait brush set, and it is Fix Cast Red here. And I'm going to pull down the flow. It's kind of how much of it is going to come through. We're just going to do that just a little bit, like that. So I can come in here and I'll say before and after. Before and after. So we're kind of just pulling down the red, helping even things out a little bit. She has a little bit as well, just a little bit. Reduce that even more. Just a little bit. Okay. So we see that before and after. But just a few tweaks. So I'm going to do this again. Same steps with this young man. Make sure it's all reset. Okay. So I think it's a little underexposed, just a little bit. Just a little. And then it's too cool as well. So I'm going to brighten it up. Just like that. Okay. And now I'm going to mouse over his forehead, and we see that the blues are just a little bit higher than the greens. See that? Red 71.4, green 68.1, and blues 69.6. If you've been using Photoshop a lot and you're thinking, I really wish that these weren't a percentage, I wish like we could see the values that we can see in Photoshop. If you turn on soft proofing in your toolbar, if you don't see your toolbar, just hit T on your keyboard. So I hit T and it went away, I hit T and it comes back. If you're not seeing the soft proofing option, come to the far right of the toolbar, click on the little triangle, go down and make sure you click soft proofing, and that will show up. So I'm going to do soft proofing. And now when I mouse over, we have our values. So the red is 186, the green is 175, and the blue is 181. Right? So our blues are higher than our greens. I'm going to turn that off just to keep things simple. So we can do the same thing we did before. We can try a preset. So I'm going to try Flash. It got close. I think it's a little too warm for me, I think. But it's pretty good. I'm going to try Auto. Okay, I like that one. Maybe I want it a touch warmer. So we're getting close. So if we did that and I could just tweak it, maybe just a little bit. And say, oh, I love that. Get closer here. Just look healthier, alive, vibrant. Or, remember our last way to do this is we can, I'm just going to go back to a shot. I'm going to use the eyedropper, and then I'm going to try his shoe here. Ooh, too warm. I'm going to try the gray of his. That's too white. I can always zoom in and try the whites of his eyes, but that's a little better. But remember, if you get close, then I'm actually going to try here too. Okay, I like that. Maybe I just want to warm it up just a tad. Okay, So that is, we fixed the exposure, we fixed the white balance. Oh, sorry, I was doing both at once. And let's zoom in. The only thing, I mean, so sweet. I'd probably maybe fix his under eye circles just a little. You want to make sure you leave the under eye circles there a little bit so they still look human. Probably gonna, a lot of times people have red ears, so I'm gonna use a brush and we're gonna get that red ear. That is very, 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 very common. People have red ears or red noses. My nose is red all the time. Right. Sometimes people have red hands too. Their hands will get very red. All right, so let's just look at that. There's before, there's after. And I'm also gonna do the under eye circle, just to kind of tackle that a little bit. If you don't have the portrait brush set, I highly recommend it. It is very, very helpful. Just gonna click, drag right there. And I'm also, I could have used the red cast here. Okay. New. I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'm just going to add a little light. Oh, it's probably too much. So I'm going to tone that down. Let's come back up here. Okay, so and we could smooth it a little bit. Skin smoothing, even for children, it does help kind of just even things out a little bit. I'm just gonna do skin smooth. All right. Now, everywhere you start a new brush, you're gonna have a pin if you're new to brushes. And I'm hitting O so I can see where I'm brushing. O shows the overlay mask. I could erase there the nostrils, but I'm not going to bother here. All right, I'm going to hit done, and we're going to do before and after. So we fixed the exposure, we fixed the white balance, we used the fixed cast red brush for his ear and his under eye circles. We use the under eye circle brush just to minimize the under eye circles just a little bit. Remember, you don't want to take them away entirely. And then I brightened the forehead area. It was a little dark. And then I just did a little skin smoothing, just a little bit. And beautiful little boy, beautiful. We could do more, but I'm focusing on the skin here. Like I could just like whiten his eyes, just the whites of his eyes, just a little bit. You know, I could do a little clarity on the catch lights, but we're just working on skin tones. So I'm gonna back up here. Isn't that sweet? Very, very sweet. All right. And let's go to one more. And let me get up here. Okay. So this one I wanted to use because it's it helps illustrate how the values are going to be very different between skin tone types, right? So the lighter the person is, the higher those values are. The darker their skin, the lower the values will be. So we're looking at 74.4 red over here, and then we're looking at 45.0 red on this one, okay? So the one on the left, well, let's see, one on the right is 45, one on the left is 75. Big difference, right? Now the image is a little underexposed and it's a little cool, and we're going to fix that. But right out of this gate, I just want you to see that the values are going to, so there's no, okay, my point is there's no like perfect number range that you should be looking for, okay? Because it can, go very low, and if somebody's very, very fair, it can go very high. So, and then people are going to be somewhere in the middle. Everybody, it's just, I am darker complected than my husband, and he's a little cooler. His blues are not going to be higher than his greens, but he runs cooler than I do if you saw us side by side. We're just different people, and we have different skin tones, and that's okay. We're all different, and I love that. Okay, I'm going to make some very fast changes to this since we've already talked about exposure and white balance. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do tweak, come up here a little bit, and I am going to just quickly see if I like flash. Flash is a little warm. Go to auto. Auto's maybe a little too cool for me, but I think it's closer to what I want. So I'm just going to tweak this over a little bit. And I may actually move this. You just kind of start to get an eye for what you like. Okay. So I think that's a little better. That's a little better. I'll pull it down some more. Okay. Now, she has a little, just maybe her cheek is cold, her cheeks are red, I don't know, red right here. She has a little bit right there. So I'm going to use a brush very quickly. Fix cast red. Got my flow somewhere in the middle. Remember, the flow is kind of like what percentage we're letting through with each brush stroke. It's cumulative, so if I keep brushing, it's going to keep doing it. Now, I would normally zoom in. I'm kind of be fast because I want to hit another picture here. All right, and we could smooth their skin and stuff like that, but it's just a very quick white balance fix and a little bit of the rosiness kind of balancing that out, and just more pleasing skin tones because of that. All right, so the next one, was it this one? I think so, yes, okay. So with this one, very precious here, I want to show you that sometimes it can be hard to detect, and you're like, okay, something that looks a little off, I'm not sure what it is, because if you over here, the white balance looks pretty good. Make sure I'm reset here. No, there we go. Okay, I think I had tweaked that white balance. All right, so if we're here, the white balance, looks pretty good, but let's come over here to the bridge of her nose. And here, our greens and blues are even there, right? Instead of one being higher than the other. And I think that's just why something's not right. And I want, we could try flash, no. Let's try auto. Oh, auto looks a little better. All right, we still got, and sometimes you will have, if it's, very fair and there's not a lot of just color in it, then you may have very even skin tones there. But I might say, I want to warm this up just a little bit, like that. All right. And we've dropped the blues just down a point, just a point. And I'm actually going to brighten this image up just a tad. And brightness is a very personal preference. Some people will choose to have darker, some choose to have brighter. So I'm just going to look here. So it's just a little tweak, and there are minor differences, but the image on the right is definitely more pleasing to the eye than the one on the left because we tweaked that temperature and tint. And this image right here is a good one to show because there's really nothing wrong with the white balance. So as shot, it's fine. It's fine. But she has some areas that we need to tackle. Okay, blemishes. That really is kind of like, you don't want to take away all blemishes, but if you can minimize some that maybe they would prefer not be there, so like a pimple, okay, then do that. And I'm going to do it with the heal tool. Be about like that. I'm just going to take care of a couple. Do that one right there. Okay, that's that. Done with that. She's got just, I don't know if it's sunburn or something right here on her nose. So I'm going to tackle that. Fix cast red. And then I'm going to just brush right there. All right. I'm going to hit close, come up here, brighten this up just a little bit. But I think I failed to show you all the white balance. The white balance was good to start with. So our blues are lower than our greens. And a lot of times that's really the main thing I'm looking at very quick. Because I try not to get too nitty gritty about things. Because like I said, everybody's really different. So you're just shooting for a ballpark, right? Okay, so that looks pretty good. Tweaked the redness right here. And then maybe I just want to, there's a tone and even. Now, you can use this for any skin tone, really. You see there's a color built in with this. So I'm going to start brushing. I'm going to do the overlay mask. And this does a little bit of smoothing. And then it applies a little bit of color. And you can get much more refined in your brushing. Because I don't want this video to be terribly long, for the sake of y'all who are watching, I don't want you to get bored. I'm trying to keep it short. Okay. All right, so I'm going to turn that off. Okay, so if it's too bright or too dark, you can click in the color and then we can adjust it. So if you wanted something that was warmer, you could move it to that, or darker. See how? You can see the color difference as I move around. I'm going to turn here to green. See the green? See the like purple blue? See that? But if I come way down here, so this just puts a little bit in there. Just a little bit. See that? It's just a little bit. So you can do it for a darker skinned, a warmer skin, a cooler skinned. Remember, skins should not be, blue should not be higher on any skin tone, but some people are cooler than others. All right, so I'm going to turn this off. There's before, there's after, and let's see, I'm just going to move it back where it was over here. Like about like that. I think I liked that better. So it just does a touch of color, just a touch of color, and a little bit of skin smoothing, and I'm just going to, actually it may not do any skin smoothing. Yeah, it does do a little bit. I'm going to pull it down a little, the clarity down just a little bit. Okay, so we're done there. And we can see a before and after, where we just brighten them is just a little bit. I didn't change the white balance. I tackled the cast on her nose. I fixed a blemish. I used the tone and even brush, and then I pulled down the clarity a little bit to smooth it. I could, for time, if I have time, y'all are gonna hang with me here. Let's see. This right here, I just want to reduce that just a little bit. I'm gonna show you a neat trick, because a lot of times I use the under eye circle brush, and it's so good. It's so good. But sometimes I will use the clone tool. Low opacity. I'm gonna come in here and just kind of like that. It'll pick a weird spot. So I'm gonna come and choose something that's very close to it. And make sure the opacity is down pretty low. And it's just gonna be a very subtle change, but it will be a good change. And a very subtle. There we go. Thank you for sticking with me. I hope that this skin tones tutorial was beneficial. Remember, exposure, white balance, and fixing color cast and evening out the skin tone a little bit. Those are the tricks of skin tones.